Hi, honey buns. Welcome to Tea and Glitter, the podcast. If this is your first time here, you made it to our 10th episode. Wow, 10. Insane. I'm stoked. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, for spending your time with me today. I'm Evelina, better known as Ivy of the Les Vixens. I'm a lesbian burlesque performer, and I've spent my entire career learning how to own my body, my identity, my sensuality, my sexuality, and my life, and to empower others to do the same. On this podcast, I spill the tea and give you all that gay girl glitter on how to live a happier, prettier, sparklier life. And in honor of the 10th episode, we're going to do a Q&GAY, where I answer listener questions, and you guys sent in so many. I feel like if I were to answer them all, this episode would be like 10 hours long, and ain't nobody got time for that, especially me today, because I have to head to 2 different gigs today. But before we get into that, I wanted to share a couple things that have made my heart like explode into tiny heart confetti recently. First, thank you. Thank you so much to everyone who voted for the Les Vixens. We won Orlando's #1 burlesque troupe for the 5th time. The 5th time. That's crazy. I'm so grateful, and I'm so proud of my team, and I'm so grateful to all of you who voted for us, who nominated us, and then voted for us. It means the entire world to have that recognition. I don't feel like I ever sit in my wins long enough. I'm like, okay, cool, on to the next thing. So that's what I'm trying to do right now by calling it out on the podcast, just taking a moment to say thank you and to appreciate the recognition. We were also the only all queer burlesque troupe, so that feels really good too, to have like gay girl representation. Love it. That's my thing. That's my jam. I'm very into that. Also, this week, speaking of gay women representation, I hosted and performed at Lavender Night at UCF, University of Central Florida, for their LGBTQ plus student services, like welcome assembly, queer people, welcome queer people, queer kid, queer college person, welcome assembly. That was the official name. Anyway, and they had me do this last year, and it was one of the best nights of my life. This year, they brought me back, which made me feel really, really good, because not only did they have me perform, but they have me host it. And to have a lesbian woman on stage in front of 2,000 people, 2,000 queer people in the arena. What? They could have had a drag queen host it, and drag queens are great hosts, but the fact that they chose me, again, to host it, to give me that microphone so I can talk to these incoming freshmen, that I can share my message, it was just incredible. Insanity. So epic. One of the best nights of my life. Super honored and grateful for the recognition and also the opportunity to be that representation, because I'll tell you what, out of those 2,000 people, there were a whole bunch of queer women. So it felt really good to stand up for them. Those are a couple things recently that have made me extremely, extremely happy. I feel like I need to take a second sometimes, and I don't, so I'm trying. Let's get into this episode and answer some juicy questions, shall we? Thanks again so much for sending so many. It makes me feel really good that you guys are such curious little kitties. All right, we're gonna start off with something a little juicy. Have you ever hooked up with someone in the crowd? Yes, I have. Absolutely. I definitely have. But here's the thing, I don't typically do it at my shows, right? Like, I'm not typically making out with people at my shows because I'm producing them. There's a lot that goes into that. So I'm not just performing and then dancing or whatever. Like, after the shows, I have to get everyone paid. I have to talk to management. I have to wrap up with the venue. I have to close out everything that I need to close out with sound, lighting, with everybody else. Make sure my dancers are good, make sure everyone's paid and everyone's happy and everyone's good to go. And so by the time all that's done, the club is closed. I'm tired. I still got to drive home, which, depending on the venue, it's anywhere from like 10 minutes to like 3 hours, 4 hours. And at that point, I just want to get my ass to bed alone. So yes, I have pretty much every single one of my exes I met at my shows. But yeah, don't typically make out at the shows because girl's busy. We'll make out later, okay? What do you do when someone is just experimenting with gay sex but won't come out or be in an actual gay relationship? Okay, so this goes out to all queer people who may find themselves in this situation where someone wants to have sex with you because they want the experience, they want to have gay sex without anything of the rest, they don't want to be in an actual relationship, they're not going to come out, they may not identify as queer, they might be struggling with internalized homophobia, or they might just be sexually adventurous. Whatever their reasons, Doesn't matter. Okay, what matters is you. If you are perfectly fine being someone's sexcapade into the gay world and like you don't care about anything else and you're totally fine with just having like some physical fun, have at it, have fun, but be safe, get tested, wear protection, whatever you got to do. But if you actually do want a relationship or you want a relationship with that person, but they aren't capable or they don't want to be in a queer relationship, they don't want to come out, they don't identify as gay, whatever the case may be, don't try to force them into it. Don't try to coerce them. Don't try to think that you can change that. Either accept it for what it is, just a physical situation, have some fun, rock their world, do what you got to do, or don't get involved with them. For me, this sounds like you're going to get hurt. And I don't want you to get hurt, baby. Sometimes you may get duped into situations. Like, let's be real. People are out there who might lie about what they're actually looking for, who might make things out to be what they're not. So you might get duped into a situation and then find out later that you were just being used. And that really hurts. And if that's something you're going through, I'm really, really sorry. You don't deserve that at all. If that is the case, cut off contact with that person. Okay? Like, don't try to keep maintaining a relationship or a friendship or whatever. Like, fuck them. And like, have compassion for what people are going through, of course, but protect yourself. This is about you, baby. Like, I don't want you to get hurt. And you really, once again, need to figure out what you want. If you're fine having some sexual dalliances that don't go anywhere and you're like, let me show you the world, you know, of like gay sex, cool. Have fun. But if you're a sweetie bones who's sensitive and like actually wants a relationship, protect yourself. Don't get involved in it. Next question. Oh, this one was cute. Does being a top mean that you don't ... arrive? What a cute way to ask if I come. Yes, I do absolutely come, but I think you're getting touch me nots and tops confused. Being a top is more so just about the power dynamic, not power struggle, but the power dynamic in the bedroom. It's about who is more dominant, assertive, more in control, you know, that sort of thing. And that's more of the top energy. It doesn't mean that we don't get touched, because hell yeah, touch me. I love to be touched. Okay, now we're getting a little warm in here. It's fine. But absolutely, yes, love to be touched, love to come. Wow, I'm sharing a lot on this podcast. It's fine. It's more that I'm just the assertive person in the bedroom. I'm the dominant one. And that doesn't mean the person I'm with doesn't play a role, because they absolutely do. Ideally, you know, the power dynamic should feel good to both people. Yes, I arrive. So cute. Next one. What is the best part of your job? Connecting with people, making people feel something. There's nothing better than that, to give people a place where they feel like they can be themselves, where they can feel sexy, where they can feel seen, where they can feel moved. I just want people to feel something. And that's something that I think is so great about what my job is, that I think we do that. And we give people a safe space to explore their own feelings and their own emotions, and to like be turned on, but to also feel empowered and to feel sexy and to be entertained. I mean, God, that's just all so great. So it's the connection with people that I thrive off of, that I love. It's the best part of my job. It's the reason I do what I do. There's no performance if there's not an audience to feel something from the performance. And like, that's just my favorite. Also, sparkles. What's the worst part of your job? The hours on the road, man. I really wish I could teleport, because it would save me so much time. I'm on the road so much. I'm like a sparkly trucker. It's just a lot of time, you know, like I don't necessarily mind driving. It's just the time getting to the gigs that just, it sucks. Oh, but also actually the worst part of the job is fighting for my rights. Fighting for my rights as a queer woman to get anything for us. Fair pay, nice dressing rooms, stages. We really have to fight for it. Even in the queer community, even in the gay community, men are still prioritized everywhere, but especially in the gay community. It's so interesting, because the difference in how we are treated versus how like drag queens are treated. I love drag queens, but they are treated way better than we're treated in the queer community. Like, just so you can visualize something that is a struggle, is I walk into the dressing room that is designated for the drag queens, and there's a TV playing a movie, because they have a DVD player, and they all have their own stations with beautiful bulb lights around them, and, you know, nice floors, and it's clean and pretty and well lit and all of that. And then you go to our dressing room, and there's a hole in the wall that you can see outside. And there's an AC unit that doesn't even really work. And we are also share our dressing room with like the things that are for the speakers and stuff. Those things are very, very hot. There's like an exhaust fan in our dressing room. And so it's things like that like worst part of my job is having to fight for that and fight to get paid fairly, fight to have people take us seriously because we're women. It's such a damn struggle. I'll tell you what, I hate it. I'm still fighting every day to get my girls what they deserve. So yeah, that's the worst part of the job. Do you think people are objectifying you for what you do instead of taking you seriously for what you do for the queer community because you present yourself and your creativity sensually? This is an interesting thing because we get into the distinction between being objectified and feeling empowered, right? And I think the line comes down to control, consent, choices, and agency. Burlesque is a different art because we choose the fantasy. We're not being told how to be or that we have to be a certain way to appeal to a certain demographic, by which I mean men and the male gaze. We're in control of what we're showing, what we're revealing, when we do that, and what we're doing on stage. So I get to dictate when you get to see my wrist. You have to wait until I pull off my glove, or maybe I leave the gloves on the whole time. How about that? How about you never get to see my wrist? But that's because I chose that. It's not what you want, it's what I want. The female body has been objectified through the male gaze for eons, but I am performing through and for the female gaze. So it's very different. I'm in control at all times of my body, my energy, the stage, my space, what I choose to do and what I choose to not do. Performing in queer spaces also helps with that because there's a better understanding of agency and consent and all of that in queer spaces. But even when I perform for hetero audiences, like I'm still in control. I'm still never doing anything that I don't want to do. And it's all what I want to do. It's the fantasy I want to present. It's not your fantasy, it's mine. And men will objectify a woman who is fully clothed grocery shopping, right? So I can't control who is going to objectify me or not, but that's on them. It has nothing to do with me. And I'm not going to ever do anything that I'm uncomfortable with. My job is something that is very empowering because I own it. I own my body. I feel very, very empowered because it's my choice. I reclaim my body for me. I reclaim the fantasy for me. I do things in ways that are for the viewing pleasure of the female gaze, not for the male gaze. And for those of you who don't understand the distinction, I'm sure I'll have an episode on that at some point. But I also think that a lot of people do see the work I do for the queer community. And that's one of the reasons they come out and support us. Like, yeah, they might think we're hot or whatever, but it's also they're supporting the art, they're supporting the cause, they're supporting the representation. And so I lean into that. And of course, yeah, there's occasionally assholes who come out to our shows, by which I mean straight men, and they are being inappropriate or making us feel uncomfortable in any way. I have them removed, plain and simple. I have a lot of agency. And I think a lot of people who come to my shows feel that energy, right? So they can feel me being empowered. They can see me on stage. They feel the energy. And because I'm presenting myself in an empowered, autonomous, sexy way, people eat that shit up because they don't typically get to see a woman feeling sexy and empowered. They don't typically get to see a woman through the female gaze. And that's something that we provide. And it's all kind of like an inside joke as well. So the men and the people who attempt to objectify us, they're actually the butt of the joke. And I think that that's brilliant. P.S. Side note to the men who come to our shows who know it's not about them, it's not for them, they don't feel entitled, but they are there to support and to be entertained. You guys are the MVPs. Love ya. Keep coming to our shows. Keep showing your support. Not all men who come to our shows are assholes. There's a lot of guys who come to our shows who get it, who understand. And so I appreciate you. What are your beige, red, and green flags? Okay, my friends all agree that my beige flag is that I will make you take a walk with me. Doesn't matter if it's at noon and it's 105 degrees outside, we're going to put on some sunscreen and we're going on a walk, typically to Starbucks. Is it thunderstorming? Is it raining? I don't care. Here's an umbrella. We're going on a walk. You want to hang out with me? We're going on a walk. So that's my friends all agree that my beige flag is that if you're going to hang out with me, we're going to go on a walk at some point. It's just who I am. My red flag, I don't know if this is a red flag. Some people might think it's a red flag, but I'm very career focused, very driven. My job does take up a lot of my time. I'm on the road a lot. So some people might think that working so much is a red flag, but all right, wave it in the wind. And my green flag, I think, is that I go to therapy and I take care of my mental health. Are you guys having fun? I'm having fun. Oh, this is a question that I think a lot of people want me to answer. A lot of people asked it in many different ways. Are you jaded about loving relationships? You've been through a lot and you seem like you may not be interested in dating. And okay, so no. Even though I've been through some relationships that have really rocked me, I still believe in love and I am not jaded. I do like dating. I love dates. I love going on dates. I just have to be a little more cautious. Like I'm pretty wary at this point, and the streets are scary. Being a public figure and a performer, there's a lot more that goes into dating than a civilian, if you will. I've been burned by people before. I just have to be very cautious about who I allow into my private life. Dating gets a little more complicated, especially because I'm very busy and I'm on the road a lot. It's hard to date as an entertainer. Like, it just really is. Like, that's the fact of the matter. I have very little time, but it's not even just about that. It's about, you have to find someone very secure in themselves, because dating an entertainer is not for the weak, and it's not for the insecure. You have to really be solid in who you are. And I've been burned so many times. So yeah, dating, definitely just cautious about it, Okay, that's that answer. Moving on. What's your type? Gay. Gay is my type. Gay, 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 gay. I know that's broad, but it's not. I just really love gay energy. I think it's so hot. There's nothing hotter than a woman loving woman. Yum. I can tell you're gay from a mile away. You're probably my type. How do you navigate the weight of the pressure of understanding that you're representing a community with so little representation, while also knowing you can't represent everyone? You do it great, by the way, asking if any tips on it for self. So for me, the pressure doesn't matter, because this is my purpose and my passion. Our community deserves representation. It deserves more representation, as much representation as possible, because it matters. It truly, truly matters. But I accept my limitations. One of my favorite quotes is, "You can't do all the good that the world needs, but the world needs all the good that you can do." And so I lean into that when I start to feel overwhelmed. I know there are people out there who think I should be doing it all, doing more, but that's impossible. It's impossible, and it's ridiculous to ask that of people. So I do my best to stay grounded and kick as much ass as possible, because it's my passion, it's my purpose, it's why I'm here to perform, to create safe spaces, to represent queer women as best I can. This is why I work as hard as I do, but because I choose to do it with an understanding and acceptance of my limitations, like I can do it all without feeling burnt out. What's something you struggle with? Existential dread. I really do struggle with that. Like, I can really spiral. I have to get very grounded and focus on romanticizing my life. Like, if you guys know that episode, I talk a lot about my existential dread and what I do to combat it. And also, I'm in an industry that is wonderful and beautiful, but I'm surrounded by very beautiful, very talented people at all times. And so imposter syndrome can kick in sometimes. Typically when that happens, the universe gives me a sign. I think about this podcast, right? Like, why would anyone want to listen to me? The audacity of me to sit here and talk and think that people are going to listen to me. So I struggle a little bit with imposter syndrome, but the minute I start thinking like that, I get a message from someone that's like, "Oh my God, your podcast, thank you so much." Or someone comes up to me at a show and says, "Oh my God, I love your podcast, please keep going." The amount of people who end their messages to me about this podcast with "please keep going" is like an immediate, like, okay, I will try. I will do that. I'll keep doing this. If you're watching on YouTube, ignore this giant bruise on my leg. Performer life. How do you deal with performing when you're on your period? I'm on my period right now, friends. Luckily, I'm so grateful for the fact that I really perform pretty much consistently every single week. So every single month, I will be performing on my period. I'm going to go off on a slight tangent. No one is surprised, but I'm still annoyed at how little education women get about their own bodies. So everyone just thinks, "Oh, my period is 1 week." No. It's the entire month. You have the different phases, the luteal phase, the etc. phases, the ones, look them up. For me to navigate all that, I kind of understand the week before my period, I'm going to hate all of my costumes, and I'm going to hate the way everything fits, and I'm going to be bloated, and I'm going to have to really dig into the fact that it's all okay. Being on stage, performing, feeling bloated, it sucks. It's a challenge. It's difficult. It can be a mind fuck, but whatever, I gotta do it every month. So I'll try to wear costumes that make me feel a little more comfortable during those weeks. And then when I'm actually bleeding, if you ever see the vixens bending over at each other, we're doing a string check. For me, it's more so like the week before my period that just really sucks. And I performed cramping and just feeling like crap. When I'm on stage, I don't feel any of it. So that helps, the fact that when I'm performing, I just feel so good and I just love it so much. So even if I'm bloated and feeling icky, but yeah, like this week, when I was performing in front of 2,000 people, I felt bloated and gross, and yet You never would have known when I was out there that I felt anything other than confident as fuck. We just do it, as women have done. Anyway, I just deal with it because I have to. What's something you're afraid of? I'm afraid of the number one cause of death and trauma for women. Men. But like for real, I'm not scared of like anything else in life. We're getting real today, I guess. That was a very honest answer. Damn. How tall are you? That's an easy one. Let's go for something light here. I'm 5'9", 6+ when I'm wearing my heels on stage. Ooh, this one is not light at all, so buckle up. Advice on how to deal with a partner who refuses to get help for their severe manic depression, even when you know they treat you very poorly when they're depressed. I have been there. This literal exact situation. I have a lot to say on this, but first, I'm so sorry that you're going through this, and it's not your fault. Your partner's mental illness is not your fault. You don't deserve to be treated poorly regardless of the reason, quote unquote reason, and you can't help someone who chooses to not help themselves. Just like you can't quit smoking for someone who smokes. It's impossible. If your situation is anything like mine, your partner will probably make you feel like it is somehow your fault or somehow your responsibility. When I was with someone who had manic depression, they really did make it feel like somehow I had to fix things, that it was my fault, that I should allow them to treat me like shit because they have a mental illness. But mental illnesses are not excuses to let someone treat you like shit. They're just not. But it is incredibly hard to set boundaries with people who have a mental illness who are refusing to get help. It's difficult for multiple reasons. One, because of course we feel so much compassion for what they're going through and we love them and we want them to feel better. We want them to get help. We don't want them to be feeling the pain that they're feeling, and we have a lot of empathy for the pain that our partners are going through when they are struggling with mental illness. Been taught to be very understanding of mental illness, to have a lot of compassion for that, which we do. We absolutely do. But unfortunately, the truth is what we allow will continue. And if your partner is continuing to treat you like shit and refusing to get help, nothing you do will change that. You cannot work harder to have them treat you better. So you really have to set and maintain your boundaries. So for example, if they are treating you like shit, you could say, hey, you're treating me poorly. I'm going to leave the room, or I'm going to get out of the house for a couple hours until you're ready to treat me with kindness again. God, this gets so complicated and so complex because I remember when I was in the situation, if I were to set a boundary like that, then they would claim that I was abandoning them. They would guilt me, and then often I would let them guilt me, and then my boundaries would be gone and I would still be in the room with them, letting them treat me like shit. It's really difficult. It's a very complex situation. Like I said, I've been there. I know exactly what you're going through. God, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I do believe that people with mental illnesses are deserving and capable of healthy love and of healthy relationships and of healing and of managing their mental health, but they have to do it. You cannot do it for them. All you can do is set boundaries for yourself for how you'll be treated and what you'll accept and how much you're willing to take on for the relationship. Here's the bottom line. If setting and maintaining boundaries doesn't work and they continue to refuse to take care of their mental health and they continue to treat you like shit, I think it's right and healthy for you to leave. You need to take care of you. That's actually the priority here. If they're not taking care of themselves, there's nothing you can do. And you have to take care of yourself. And don't let anyone guilt you into staying in something that is unhealthy for you. You don't deserve that. Oftentimes, when we're being treated poorly, we're also being manipulated and gaslit into thinking it's not that bad or that we are somehow at fault. When enough is enough, then it's enough. You don't have to continue putting up with something that hurts you simply because you love someone. Sometimes it's better to love someone from a distance. Okay, we're gonna sip some tea for real quick because these are intense, man. Have you ever tried to swing a straight girl? Did you succeed? I'm not attracted to straight girls, at all. Never had a crush on a straight girl. They register the same as a dude to me. I'm attracted to gayness, to queerness, and straight girls, they just do nothing for me. They can be hot as fuck and beautiful and all these things, but I need more. Also, I wouldn't want to try to swing a straight girl because they're straight. Why would I be trying to convince them to have a gay experience if they're straight? Never tried to swing a straight girl. Don't find them attractive. And also, I respect their orientation. Does it make you sad that after so much time and effort in the entertainment industry, you pay your rent in dollar bills? Bitch, no. I love the fact that I make a living as an artist. That's so rare. And I get to do what I love. Like, are you kidding me? And also, everyone pays their rent in dollar bills. Mine just have more lipstick and glitter on them. But I get what you mean. You know, after all the time and effort I've put into my craft, like, would I like to be making millions? Absolutely. Who wouldn't? But I don't ever think of it like that. I'm just so incredibly grateful that I get to do what I do, that I get to do what I love. And I'm so grateful for every single dollar. And I mean that, every single dollar. When you hand me a dollar and I take that second to like thank you for it, I mean it. Those dollars are other people's hard-earned money that they are choosing to hand to me to show appreciation for my art, for my work, for what I'm doing. There's nothing better. Like, I'm so grateful. Like, I didn't come from money, so like every single dollar means the world to me. And the fact that I can collect enough to like feed my cats and me is mind-blowing. It's incredible. Did you ever regret not pursuing any girls that you met either at your shows or in other places, or are you always confident? I wouldn't say that I regret it, but yeah, sometimes I do wonder what would happen, right? Like I mentioned in the last episode, I dated a heroin addict. Ooh. And when I met her, I also met another girl at the same time. And I decided to pursue the girl who ended up being the addict instead of the other girl. And I sometimes wonder like what would have happened if I'd went with the other girl. But like I'll never know. I've taken the paths that I've taken and I can't change the past. And also sometimes there have been girls that I've been interested in, but I chose to not pursue. And then I later found out that I dodged a bullet. So like, no, I think I'm good. Have you ever had a stalker? Several. It can be pretty scary out here because I'm a public figure. People think that they know me and then they think that they can cross boundaries, and it's not fun when it happens, and it has happened more than I'd like. Difficult situations to navigate. I don't often get a lot of support from law enforcement and that sort of thing, so that sucks, but yeah. Definitely have had stalkers. I wish I didn't. Does your work affect your dating life? It absolutely does. Like I said before, it makes it kind of difficult to figure out what someone's intentions are with you. You know, if they're just trying to get close to you because you're a performer, that you're a semi-public figure, whatever the case is, or if they are genuinely interested in getting to know you as a person and like want to be in love with you and all those things. It's harder to discern if they want to date the performer or if they want to date the person. I'm on the road a lot, and that definitely affects dating. You have to put time and energy and effort into relationships, and when you don't have a lot of time or energy, it makes dating really difficult. And I'm not just performing, I own the business and I do all of the things. So I'm not just driving to a gig or whatever. Like when I'm not on stages, I am doing all of the social media, all of the marketing. I'm having all of the meetings. I'm doing all of the scheduling. I'm writing all the captions for, do you know how hard it is to write a caption? I have to do all of that. It takes a lot of energy. I have to stop what I'm doing in the middle of the day to make sure I have all the social media posts done. I have to respond to emails. I have to do all the merch. I have to get everything printed. I have to do all of these things. So it's not just like, hey, I got to go to my gig now. It's like I'm working all day and then I go to my gig. Being a performer and a producer and a business owner, like all of that's very, very difficult to date because there's a lot happening and not a lot of time to go on dates and to foster a relationship. It can be done though. It can be done. But also another thing with my job is that like we are the art of the tease. I'm out there on stages in front of lots and lots of queer women. And so you have to be secure to date a performer. There's lots of jealousy. It's hard to find people who can handle that, who can handle dating someone who is a baddie like that, someone who's out there being a boss bitch and the hot girl on stage. It's very difficult for some people to handle that and to not want to change you or to not want to control you or to collar you and make you do less. And like, who was that girl? Why are you flirting with? Were you flirting with that? Like, it does make it very hard to date. Like, okay, so bottom line, it's really difficult, and my job definitely makes it a challenge to date. I'm exhausted just talking about it. Also, refer back to stalkers. Love it for me. Advice for overcoming relationship boredom. I think a lot about what I talked in my last episode could help with this. The idea of being very intentional with your relationship. It is really easy for life to take over and suddenly you're in a rut with someone. You're wearing sweatpants every day. You're going to work, coming home, eating dinner, watching TV, and going to bed. And that's on repeat forever and ever and ever. So yeah, of course, people can fall into relationship boredom, but it doesn't have to stay that way. You can turn things around today by putting a little more intention in your life, focusing a little bit more on your partner. When you come home, you don't just peck kiss them. You like look them in the eyes and say, damn, babe, you look beautiful. You give them a kiss, like, phew, incredible. Like immediately changed the entire energy in the room. Also, I think it's worth kind of identifying like what's making you feel bored. Is it your routines? Is it that you're not having enough fun together? Is it you? Like, did you let yourself go? Like, are you the boring one? Is your partner the boring one? Are there things there that you two need to talk about to kind of spice things up? And I don't say spice things up as in like bring toys into the bedroom. Like, I mean, just like in daily life, what about your routines make you feel this bored? What can you do to bridge that gap between a more fun relationship and the boring one you have now? I think a lot of things can be very simple. It can just literally be like a little more intention and effort. Instead of sitting there eating, watching TV and going to bed, play a board game together. Or go for a walk. Here's me trying to get you to go for a walk again. Or instead of like having dinner or like whatever, like go out to eat or order food and have a picnic in your living room. I don't believe it's too late. I think you can still infuse fun and exciting times back into the relationship. I'm bisexual and terrified of making a move with the girl I like, even when I know she likes me too. She doesn't make me nervous. Being around her feels safe and calm, and somehow the thought of making a move makes my heart race. Oh my God, that's so cute. Like you're both gay panicking. I love that. That's really cute. Love that you said that she makes you feel safe and calm, but also makes your heart race. Like that's how it's supposed to feel, okay? What's stopping you from making the move? Like it doesn't seem like you're necessarily struggling with your identity. Like it's not like you're like, oh my God, I'm about to kiss a girl. It also doesn't really seem like you're afraid of rejection necessarily because you said, you know, the girl likes you back. Like wondering what else is stopping you. It doesn't have to be that deep, but like if there is something deeper, maybe identify what that barrier is. But if it's just because you're gay panicking, like stop worrying so much about making it perfect. Like time and a place, of course, matter to a degree. You'll know like when you feel that tension, when you're like, this is the moment, just go for it. Just let the ghost of Sappho possess your body and just make out. Making out with girls is great. You got this. Hi, Banksy. Everyone say hi to Banksy. He's been in like every single episode. How do you feel so comfortable with yourself on stage? Do you ever get stage fright? I don't really get stage fright. I just more so get like adrenaline. I love the stage. I love being on the stage. I feel so at home in front of an audience. I always have, but I do think it's this kind of symbiotic thing, right? Like if you walk out onto stage with confidence, the audience can feel that. And then the audience trusts you more. And so then they believe you more and then they cheer for you more. But I also think for me, a big thing is that I don't go on stage. I don't do what I do for applause. I'm going on that stage to give the audience my energy, my focus, to give them my best. And I think when you do things from a framework of service, not thinking about what you're going to get, but thinking about what you're going to give, I think that that's a game changer, especially when it comes to feeling comfortable on a stage. It's no longer about approval or applause. It's about an energy exchange. It's about something you're going to give to the audience, and hopefully they're going to give some energy back. I want to do my best when I'm on stage to make the audience feel something. And so I kind of lean into that a little bit more, and it helps me feel much more confident because I know, hey, this is what I got to give. Hopefully you like it. I have a lot of trust with myself. Like I know that even in like, let's say I slip and bust my ass on stage, like I know that I'm going to handle that in a way that makes the audience want to support me and cheer me on, even if I just busted my ass. I recently came out as a lesbian from being bi for 10 plus years. I have been having a hard time with expressing it out of fear that others will criticize or say it's just a phase. How do I get more comfortable with my identity and not give a fuck what others think? Life is all about spectrums and evolutions and seasons, about learning more about ourselves and then leaning into those new seasons. And people who don't understand that or who make you feel badly for discovering a new season of your life are typically people who are unhappy with their own lives and projecting. So keep that in mind. You're living your truth and your freedom. And how amazing is that? You have found this new identity that feels even more appropriate and even more at home for you. That's incredible. That's amazing. And if someone isn't celebrating that with you, that has nothing to do with you. Many people have tried over the years to tear me down because of the joy and freedom that I feel with my identity, with myself, with my body, with my career, with all of these things. But I'm not doing anything to them. I'm not doing anything except just existing and being happy, but they can't stand that. You know, my happiness and my joy and my freedom irritates them, but that's because that they don't feel the same joy and they don't experience the same freedom, or at least they don't lean into it like I do. And like, that's the thing, everyone can lean into their joy. They can find it. They can romanticize their own lives. But I have found that when you are living your best life, haters indeed are going to hate. But I typically check in, like, is this part of my life affecting that person at all? Typically the answer is no. When someone is trying to criticize you or minimize what you're going through by saying it's just a phase, know that the only reason for that is that it's jealousy, it's envy, it's a lack in their own lives. It's projection. Trust in yourself and lean into this new season of your life. Don't let others steal your joy because they don't have any. Also here, I like to practice empathy. Instead of internalizing their irritation, like I really think, man, I feel so badly for them. They're spending so much energy trying to control me, control my situation, or tear me down instead of working on finding more joy or happiness in their own lives. And like, that sucks. I've never known a troll or a hater to be happier than I am. I've never known a troll or a hater to have a more successful, more fun, more glittery, more sparkly, more sexy life than I have. That's because happy people who are happy with their own lives, they're not tearing down other people. They're celebrating other people. They are supporting other people. They are cheering on their wins. They're excited for you. Congrats on realizing that you're actually a lesbian. That's wonderful for you. I'm so happy for you. And I hope that you find the confidence to be able to just live that. And it's like, you don't even need to shout it from the rooftops. You can just exist in it. Just be it. Just be about it, girly. Just be about the lesbian lifestyle. How to truly embrace your sexuality while dealing with internalized homophobia. I think that internalized homophobia is such a complex issue, but wanting to embrace your sexuality in spite of it all is an amazing thing. I would just say, give yourself a lot of grace and compassion. It's a lot to unpack, and internalized homophobia does like seep into the cracks, so it'll show up in some weird ways. So don't be hard on yourself as you struggle, because it is a struggle. You have to go through it. Give yourself lots of love and kindness and understanding. Therapy can help, of course, but also journaling and just observing what's happening. Like, I like to call it out. I'm feeling some anger toward that gay person over there who looks so free and happy. I want to feel free and happy, but I don't think gay people should feel free and happy, right? And then when you call it out, you're like, but that's actually just internalized homophobia. I truly do believe that gay people deserve to be happy, and I deserve to be happy. And I'm, kind of just call it out, observe it. I think being able to put a name to it, minimize it, helps like take it from a tiger to a paper tiger. Identifying what you're feeling can help immensely to wrangle it, to shine a light on it, and it takes a lot of its power away. And it does take awareness and effort, but you can untangle it. Don't expect it to happen immediately, but just trying to embrace your sexuality while overcoming it, like, that's huge. Like, I'm so proud of you. If you reference back to my internalized homophobia episode, I give a lot of advice there. Check out that episode. Let me shamelessly plug one of my own episodes. Where are the femme tops hiding? I'm right here, baby. We're not hiding. We're literally out in plain sight. Femme tops are just out here existing, but you think we're straight girls. Something I think worth mentioning here is that I think a lot more femmes would actually be tops if more people in the queer community didn't feel like they had to fit certain roles based on what they looked like. I talked about this in our Defining Our Queerness episode. If more masks would quit insisting on being tops because they think they have to be, not because they actually are, it would give the femmes, the opportunity to kind of take more control and to show off their assertiveness. I think a lot of femmes who come out may not realize that they can be assertive because they also want to be pretty princesses. I didn't realize I was a top until I got to play more. And so it's another thing. Experience breeds more comfortable sexual practices, and you get more comfortable with different roles and different dynamics in the bedroom. And so allow yourself to play. Yeah, so the femme tops, we're not hiding. We just may not have either realized that we're a top, or we might be out here, but you don't see us because we are femme. I'm going to reference another one of my episodes, Femme Invisibility. Go check it out. How to avoid falling into heteronormative roles and norms within queer relationships. I think communicating and checking in with yourself and your partner instead of just defaulting. It's totally okay also if your relationship follows along with heteronormative norms. It doesn't mean that you can't still be in a queer relationship. The fact is, you could be a 50s housewife vibing, you're at home baking and your partner's bringing home the bacon. But if that works for you and feels really good to you, then it's not heteronormative. But if you both default to that, and it feels really off to you and like doesn't suit you, then that becomes a heteronormative thing. Does that make sense? So check in and see if you're defaulting to heteronormative or if you just actually feel really good in those things. Because like, there's nothing inherently wrong with a heteronormative role, but it only becomes something wrong when it's forced upon us and it doesn't work for us. To avoid falling into it, it just takes awareness of what's going on, you know, and then also exploration. So, right. So if you are like, hey, I don't want to be a 50s housewife and I want to do something different, then explore that, see where that leads you, see what comes to the surface, you know, communicate with your partner or partners and like really get into what you actually want. And I think a lot of times people don't know what they want, so they default, right? So you got to do some of the internal exploration, some that get curious about what's going on, say, hey, I don't really like this, or hey, I actually really do like this. So I'm going to lean more into that. People criticize like masc femme dynamics in lesbian relationships, but I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with that if that's what works for you, right? Does that make sense? I hope it makes sense. Boundaries with fans. Oh, first and foremost, please don't grab us, don't slap our asses, don't do anything that we don't consent to at our shows. If I'm dancing up on you and you slap my ass, like I really don't appreciate that. Please don't do that. Don't grab our arms, don't pull us to you, don't do any of that. Like that's so annoying and like invasive. Like do not do that. Don't touch the performers unless you have been given explicit permission to do so. Don't take our costume pieces. We will often put them on you or do things, but return them. Take a good sniff and then give them back. Those are not souvenirs. A lot of times our costume pieces are things that we've worked on and they are custom made or we made them ourselves and they're hard to recreate and they cost money. So don't steal people's costume pieces. Even if someone puts a boa around you or gives you a glove, give it back, okay? Give it back. Don't wait for performers after gigs in the parking lot. That doesn't feel good to anyone. Don't call them. Don't use their phone numbers if they haven't explicitly given them to you. Don't invade their privacy. Don't wait by their cars. Don't show up at their houses. Don't do anything that you're not explicitly given permission by the performer. Like, please respect people's personal space, respect their privacy. We're just people out here too. So it does make us feel uncomfortable. Just respect your performers, respect our boundaries, respect our personal space, respect our personal property. Don't try to insert yourself into our personal or private lives without being allowed in. Man, the amount of times I've seen girls do that to my performers or to me myself, it's just really uncomfortable. Don't make us feel uncomfortable, guys. Come on. How did you get into burlesque? Was there ever a plan B? Well, I saw some performers and thought, hey, I could do that. I danced like a baby horse and I have no idea why I thought I could do that. Then I did it and here we are. You just gotta wing it sometimes. I went to college for advertising, public relations, marketing, and women's studies. And while that really works for my career, I didn't expect any of this. Like every day I wake up and I'm like, what? Birds fly in through the window. They help me get dressed. We sing a song about how great it is to be gay. And then I'm like, I'm a burlesque performer. This is wild. It's shocking to me. Let this be a lesson to you to just wing it because you never know what can happen. Like take that risk. If you think you can do something, go for it because you never know what will happen. So there was no plan B. Burlesque was not even a plan. And I just went for it. And many moons later, here I am on a podcast talking about taking off my clothes in front of strangers. But I also do believe the universe wanted this for me and so kind of set the path, gave me the opportunity if I wanted it, and then I just had to take those steps. And I did, even though, like I said, I danced like a baby horse and had zero dance background. I'm not a trained dancer. I don't know if you guys know that, but like, yeah, I do not have dance training. So... and yet I work with some of the most trained people on planet Earth. So you just gotta wing it, friends, and you never know what could happen. Okay, speaking of, I have to get to 2 different gigs tonight, and so I gotta wrap this up here. Thank you guys so much for sending so many questions. There were a bunch more that I wanted to answer, but this episode's already pretty long, and I am late because I'm late to everything, and I gotta get going. We're doing kind of a cool thing tonight. This girl who was on the Bad Girls Club and Basketball Wives, this girl, I say this woman, she has like 1.2 million followers on Instagram. She DM'd me and was like, hey, I'm doing a live podcast in Orlando. I want to book the Vixens. And I was like, what? Okay. So I've been on the phone with producers and they're going to have like a film crew. They're filming for a possible reality show. There's a lot happening. And it was really interesting. I'm just filling you guys in on some stuff because I was like, okay, we'll send you our music. And they're like, actually, you have to choose your music from this library of approved songs because it's going to be on TV. And they sent us the library and it was like the music version of like stock photography. Like the songs were so bad. It was like swagger hip hop, cool pop late nights. Like just like, I was like, what? So the songs we had to choose are not our typical performance songs. So wish us luck with our elevator music hip hop tonight. And then I go from that to our show in Tampa, Girl Pop Up. So this girl's got to get going and I'm still talking. So anyway, thank you guys so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope you enjoyed getting to know me a little bit better. You learned some very intimate things about me. My goodness. You're welcome, I guess. Hope you guys have a beautiful day. Be good to yourselves. Be good to each other. Give this episode a thumbs up if you're watching on YouTube. And if you are listening on Spotify or Apple Podcast or wherever else you're listening, give it a nice review. I would really appreciate that. It really does help me out, I think. I don't know. So far, it just makes me feel good. So thank you. And I will see you in the next one. Actually, FYI, I am going to take 2 weeks off from the podcast because I will be traveling. I'm going to go, I have shows in New Orleans, and then I'm taking a little break and going hiking in Colorado. So I won't have a camera on this mountain. So I'm going to take some time off and then I'll be back with the next several episodes. I'm also going to be a guest on a podcast next week on a pretty big lesbian podcast. So that's really cool. So yeah. Okay. So I will talk to you guys in a couple weeks. But don't forget about me. Okay. I love you. A happy Virgo season. Okay. Bye.